Like 37 or anything? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 4, text number 37. Yatha Vedamsi Samsida Agni Vashmasat Kurute Arjuna Jnana Agni Sarvakarmani Vashmasat Kurute Kutha Yathaidam si samitognir. Yathaidam si samitognir. Vasmasat kurute Arjuna. Vasmasat kurute Arjuna. Yanagni sarvakamani. Sarvakarmani Vasmasat kurute tatha Vasmasat kurute tatha Yathaidam si samidognir Edam si firewood Samsida blazing Agni fire Vasmasat ashes Kurute turns Arjuna Jnanagni the fire of knowledge Sarvakarmani all reactions to material activities Vasmasat to ashes Kurute it turns Tatha similarly. Translation: as a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. What's that sound? From the speaker? If it can't be fixed, it's okay. If it can be fixed, it's not good. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Perfect knowledge of self and superself and of their relationship is compared herein to fire. This fire not only burns up all reactions to impious activities, but also all reactions to pious activities, turning them to ashes. There are many stages of reaction. Reaction in the making, reaction fructifying, reaction already achieved, and reaction a priori. But knowledge of the constitutional position of the living entity burns everything to ashes. When one is in complete knowledge, all reactions, both a priori and a posteriori, are consumed. In the Vedas, it is stated, Ube Vaisha Ete Tarati Amrita Sadhu Asadhuni. One overcomes both the pious and impious reactions of work. Yathaidam si samidognir Bhasmasat kurute Arjuna. Jnanagni sarva karmani. Bhasmasat kurute tata. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. So when one is in perfect knowledge of the transcendental situation, when one actually understands the transcendental science, when one understands the self and the superself, the Paramatma, then one comes to a position which is very wonderful. He comes to a position whereby his knowledge is so powerful, just like a fire, that he can burn to ashes all the sinful reactions which have come upon him, or which have been stored up since time immemorial. You know, we are simply accumulating reactions. And those reactions are causing us to enjoy or suffer particular happiness and distress at this moment in time. All happiness and distress is created by our past activities. Therefore, in fact, there is nothing you can do to change that or overcome that. If you are meant to suffer unhappiness, it will come. And if you are meant to enjoy happiness, it will come. You don't even have to go very far out of your way to come to the point of happiness or distress. Now, if you want to have, let's say, many millions of dollars, you will have to work. And in that work, you will have to perform many austerities. Jai Shishi Panchatattva Ki. Gee, they're closing early, aren't they? That's normal. Oh, too bad. So, one has to work with great austerities and sacrifices to make many millions of dollars. But that work that one performs is not necessarily the source of the happiness. One may get many millions of dollars, certainly. That doesn't mean he's going to be happy. He may get millions of dollars. That may be the result of his work. In the bank, there is some paper sitting there. Or actually, not even the paper is sitting there, it's just some numbers are sitting there on somebody's bookkeeping somewhere. So, he has those numbers sitting there. But all of the various forms of unhappiness or happiness that were due to him come automatically. He gets it anyway, regardless of whether he has the money or he doesn't have the money. In fact, although he thought that having the money was the source of happiness, it is quite possible that having the money can be the source of distress. For example, if all of a sudden the inflation goes very high. Usually it runs around 3-4% or something like this. So let's say it all of a sudden runs about 100% a month. This is not unusual in South America. In Brazil, it was 300% a month at one point. In Argentina, I remember, it was 100% a month. No. So, you had money. Notice we used the past tense. But then the inflation came and took it all away. And you have nothing. So the same money, which you think is the source of your happiness, the same money can become the source of your distress as well. So the physical thing, in and of itself, is not the source of any particular kind of reaction. Just like a gun. A gun in the hands of a criminal causes pain to the person who he is stealing from or killing. The gun in the hands of the police who are chasing the criminal is a blessing. Or the soldiers who protect the country, they are glorified. So, a thing does not necessarily have happiness or distress or good or bad attached to it. It is just a thing. Or as Narada Muni stated in the Bhagavatam, does not a thorn, which when used therapeutically, also become a tool to take out another thorn which has embedded itself in your leg? Both things are thorns. Thorn in your leg, thorn to take out the thorn in your leg. Both are thorns. But one thorn hurts, the other helps. But both are thorns. Therefore, the thorn in and of itself is not something which we curse or praise. It's just a thing. And it all depends on the consciousness of the living entity, what he does with these things. Just like the whole material world. The Mayavadis reject the material world. They say it is false. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. False. This material world, only Brahma is truth. Material world is false. It is to be rejected. But Srila Rupa Goswami says that if you reject Prapanchikata Bhuja Hari Sambandhi Vastuna Vimukshavi Parichago Valbhavaragi Uchite, if you reject something which has a connection to Krishna or could be connected to Krishna, thinking it simply material, then your renunciation is called Phalgu Vairagya, or useless renunciation. On the other hand, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yataram Upanjitaha Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Uchite. Real, practical renunciation is that one should use everything, instead of seeing it as a sense object, see it how it can be used in the service of Krishna. Because the things are neutral. They're not necessarily good, they're not necessarily bad. To make the distinction as good or bad, this is all illusion. Bhadra Bhadra Gyan Savamanadaram. A Bhadra A Manda Esa Brahm. To say this is good and this is bad is illusion. Because it's all bad in the material world, or it's all good depending on your consciousness. Bhagavad Gita to the devotees is good. To the demons, it's bad. Same thing. Somebody may see something as good, somebody may see something as bad. It just depends on how you use it. Therefore, we are not fanatics about our renunciation. No. We do not reject technological advancement for the sake of simplicity. Although our motto on our village community should be simple living, high thinking, along with that simple living come the most sophisticated computers in the world, plus sophisticated programs to make sophisticated presentations to attract sophisticated people with sophisticated knowledge. So it is not that we are simply rejecting with the motto, simple living, high thinking. We're not rejecting. After all, Srila Prabhupada was flying all over the world in 747 airplanes, which are not simple. The electronics in that airplane would boggle your mind if you had to wire it. It takes thousands of people to put these planes together, and it takes them over a year to make one. It's not simple. But because he was using it to travel around the world preaching Krishna consciousness, he did not reject it. You know, actually, in the Vedas, according to the Smarta Brahmanas, it is stated that a devotee should not cross the ocean. Should not cross the ocean. But Srila Prabhupada, as soon as he got the first opportunity, he crossed the ocean. That makes the difference between Srila Prabhupada and the ordinary renouncers according to mundane principles. He knew how to use things in Krishna's service, and he taught us as well how to do that. Therefore, just like the Fate exhibition, I remember when in Vrindavan, a few of Prabhupada's disciples had made the first diorama dolls out of mud and straw according to the Bengali system of making dioramas. And Prabhupada was crying in ecstasy that they finally learned how to do it. How nice it was. But did he want them just to make some dolls with mud and straw? The next thing they did was went to Los Angeles and made all kinds of presentations with computers and lights and multimedia. And to this day, it remains one of the most wonderful ways to spread Krishna consciousness. That same exhibition, which was made 20 years ago, 20 years old, still people come in and see the message is so powerful, they just become completely amazed. Like the Changing Bodies exhibition with the light going from body to body, showing the soul transmigrating. Simple little thing. But they just stand there struck with wonder. Now, in other exhibitions, you know, you go to Epcot, Disney World, MGM, Universal Studios, all these places in America, they're all in Florida, and they just mind-boggle you with technology. Mind-boggle you. You can't imagine the things that they show you in these places. I went, I saw. For the sake of the Mayapur project, I had to learn these things. We also enjoyed quite a lot. But one thing we realized while viewing all of these exhibitions is that the message was practically zero. Zero message. All flash, no substance. Incredible. They had no message whatsoever. And if they had a message, it was something demoniac. Like, you are this body, you should enjoy it. Or you should be nice to other people's bodies, which is a little bit pious. Or something like that. Useless, completely useless. Therefore, after one day, that's all I spent, one day. I was so bored, I said, enough of this, no more. But then, Priyavrata Prabhu was telling me, he's now in charge of our exhibitions in Mayapur, for building the Mayapur planetarium and other things like that alongside of Guru. He's in charge. So, he said that one man, who was a very sophisticated man, went into the Los Angeles State Museum. He was the father of one devotee, and simply stood in front of the Changing Bodies exposition and looked at it for about 10 or 20 minutes and was just stunned by the message. After all, it's just some dolls with a light that goes from one to the other. Completely simplistic. I mean, the people who make all these exhibitions would think this is the most simplistic thing in the world. And yet this man, who was very sophisticated, who knew all about electronics and media and all these things, just stood there looking at it and said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. He was actually convinced just by looking at this diorama. And that's what makes our usage of technology and science different from the materialists. The materialists use these things for useless things. And we use these things for the most useful things. It's like these video cameras, video presentations. Materialists are presenting all kinds of flashy things here and there and everywhere. Completely bewildering with technology and wonder. But what are they saying? She loves you and you love him and we all love them and that's all great and baby, baby, baby. That's all completely useless things. And if somebody has a message, I'm angry, I'm fed up. Nowadays, a lot of young people music like that. Kick your foot in the air, kick them in the head, then what? You can go around kicking everybody in the head, but then what? They have no message. So, the point is that Krishna consciousness has the message. We have the message. We have the transcendental knowledge. And the transcendental knowledge can burn to ashes all the reactions of sinful life. Just for people seeing our Krishna conscious philosophy in action, they are burning to ashes the sinful reactions of their lives. Not only just the sinful reactions at present, but they are destroying with this transcendental knowledge we are giving them the sinful reactions that have already appeared in the past, have developed in the past. There are 4 kinds of sinful reactions, starting with bija. Bija means the seed. The seed of the sinful reaction. The kama bija, the desire in the heart that I am going to enjoy, or I am going to cause trouble to somebody, or I am going to be envious, something like that. Some seed is there in the heart. And when the proper time comes, that seed awakens, and starts to grow into a plant. Kutastha, the next stage. When it starts to grow. From the seed, then comes Kutastha. It starts to grow into a plant. And when that plant grows a fruit, it's called phalamukha, that the living entity develops a particular reaction that is his reaction. And he's going to get it. In the Kundastha stage, he does some activity which is causing the reaction to come. And when the reaction comes, the fruit is there, the fruit of the reaction. And when the reaction has already passed, and it's already there, and there's nothing you can do about it, it's called prarabdha karma, previously acquired reactions. These prarabdha karma are already manifest reactions. Nothing you can do about them. Just like one fool once said that Srila Prabhupada couldn't be a pure devotee because he wears glasses. This was in Bombay around 1977 or something. So what does being a pure devotee have to do with wearing glasses? Nobody could explain. But he said that if you're a pure devotee, you have no reactions, and everything should be completely perfect. That means your eyes should be perfect, all your fillings should mysteriously pop out of the teeth, and the teeth should become perfect and rearrange themselves so they're all straight, clean themselves up so they're not yellow anymore. All your earwax should come out. Perfect. No, that is not what perfection means. As Srila Prabhupada explained, that he said, I am not perfect. He said, but because I am giving you perfectly the knowledge which has been received by me from the previous authorities, that is my perfection. You cannot see perfection in the body of a pure devotee. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami says that if one sees imperfections in the body of a devotee, such as perhaps he may stutter, or he may limp, or he may be crippled, or he may not be good looking, or something like that, he has some sickness or something like that, you should not see these defects as diminishing the position of the devotee. Just as the Ganges water flows, and on top of the Ganges are sometimes many dirty things, because ignorant people throw dirty things in the Ganges, and besides, the Ganges is a river which washes away the banks, and sometimes unclean things are washed away also and float on the top of the river. But those who are learned just push away the unclean things in the Ganges and take their bath, because they know that the Ganges is ever pure and uncontaminable. We know this for a fact. We've been doing scientific experiments in Mayapur with Ganges water, because we read a newspaper article that said that Ganges water after 8 days becomes pure no matter what has been put in it. So we actually tested it, and it is a fact. There are places in what is that? Uttar Pradesh, I think Uttar Pradesh, where there are factories, and the factories dump chemical contamination in the river, and within 15 or 20 kilometers, the river is pure again. It's incredible. That's why in the former days, before anybody knew anything about science, they used to take Ganges water on the ships when they were sailing across here and there, because Ganges water never deteriorated. You know, if you take normal water, even pure water, it deteriorates and develops all these funny things on the bottom of the glass. Don't even know how to describe it, some kind of like, I don't know what, stuff. But Ganges water does not. I have had Ganges water in my Elmira, in Mayapur, for 4 years now. I filtered it when it was first coming, put it in a bottle. Since 4 years, there's nothing in that bottle but simply pure Ganges water. Nothing. No deterioration whatsoever. Therefore, it was known all over the world. If you want pure water on your ship, bring Ganges water. It never deteriorates. That is the beauty. So the same way that the Ganges is ever pure, no matter what may go on top of it. Similarly, the pure devotee, no matter what external things may be there on his body, or he may have a characteristic, but you cannot judge pure devotees on the basis of these qualities or characteristics, because they are in their hearts fully determined to surrender unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, and they are perfectly pure within. So although prarabdha may be there, somebody may wear glasses because he was born with bad eyes, somebody may limp because something's wrong with the body, but you should know it for sure that that devotee will for sure next life be back with Krishna and having a perfectly pure spiritual body which will be completely devoid of any defect whatsoever. So one should understand these reactions, the bija, the seeds, what happens with the seeds? They get fried completely in the fire of devotional service. Just like if you have some seeds. If you plant the seed and put water on the earth, it will grow a bush, a plant. The only way to stop that is to fry the seed. Fry it. Then no more growth. So, we fry these seeds in our heart of desire by devotional knowledge, transcendental knowledge. We fry these seeds of desires. And the desire to act, to commit sinful activities, is also burned to ashes. And even if it's not, and even if some devotee commits a sinful activity out of habit or accidentally, the power of his devotional service is so great that that action becomes burned to ashes as well by the power of transcendental knowledge. Krishna guarantees this in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And as far as reactions which we are suffering for presently, well, we know that Krishna uses these reactions for a devotee to teach him a good lesson if he needs it. These reactions which are coming, Krishna allows a small portion of these reactions to filter through so that you learn a good lesson and straighten up and become a good devotee. That is the meaning of karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhajan. By performing devotional service, the reactions are diminished very much. Prabhupada once said that if you cut your finger, you should think, according to my karma, I should have cut my throat. But Krishna is so kind that he has diminished the reaction so that I have only cut my finger. We should think like that. Because that's actually the fact. So, when we get some reaction, it is not to be understood to be because of our past activities, but rather it is Krishna helping us. On the other hand, you should not think, this is Krishna and I have nothing to do with this activity. I am completely free from all sinful reactions. No, a devotee doesn't think like that. Tate nikampam sushavikshamano gunjane vatma kritam vipakam vidvagavadvir vidadan namaste jigate mukti padeshtaiva. The devotee thinks in another way. The devotee thinks that due to my sinful activities in the past, I am having to suffer this reaction. It is all my fault. He never blames Krishna. And with his mind and body and words, he offers his obeisances again and again to the lotus feet of the Lord. And for such a devotee, liberation becomes his rightful claim. Mukti Padesudayava. Because he's simply thinking about how he is at fault. He does not blame anyone else. Just like Dharma the bull, when asked by Maharaj Parikshit, who has caused this trouble to you? He became very philosophical and explained many different theories of the cause of suffering, and ultimately concluded it was his own fault. That is a devotee. Those who conclude it's his fault, or their fault, or their fault, they are not very advanced. Now, someone may say, the materialist may say, but this means you're justifying injustice. What if somebody does something wrong to another person? What then? Should the person just think it's my own fault and do nothing? Actually, under religious principles, the person who something happens to would think like that, yes. But the king or the ruler or the authority would not think like that. He would think, you rascal, you are harming another innocent being, and would immediately come and chastise the offender. Just like although Dharma the bull was waxing philosophical, when Kali was attacking him, Maharaj Parikshit, he was not thinking like that. He immediately saw Kali, took out his sword, and was ready to cut off his head. There was no question of even thinking about what to do next. He knew exactly what to do, because he knew religious principles. So for each individual who is in a particular drama of karma, there is a particular way to think, which is according to the Vaishnava principle, which we have just explained. And even the Prarabdha, the most amazing thing is that even if you have an already existing sinful reaction, that does not become an impediment to your devotional service by Krishna's grace. Just see, Srila Gaurakishore Das Babaji Maharaj was blind due to some disease. Now, he still went right on with his devotional activities, did not stop in the least, and was not held back even slightly. He was successful in all his devotional activities, because that prarabdha karma could not stop him. Could not stop him from performing devotional service. And that is Krishna's grace upon the devotee. And that is the proof that even the prarabdha karma cannot affect the devotee. Otherwise, anyone else, it can affect. That is the nature of this material world. So we should understand that the sinful reactions are burnt to ashes. Bhashmasat, ash. So, this is a very interesting verse. The next verse will glorify transcendental knowledge. I actually had a plan that I was going to talk about both verses today, but I got nowhere. I thought, there's no way I'm going to talk about this verse for more than a few minutes. And then I went and gave even more than 30-minute class. What can I do? Such is the nature of transcendental knowledge. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions? Yes?
Prarabdha karma on the gross platforms. I wonder how it is. It also relates to Prarabdha karma, subtle factor. There isn't some.
Somebody has a damaged mind.
Yes, or a particular nature, psychological mind.
Yes, but if he's a pure devotee, that won't stop him in that case either.
Can one say, for instance, I have, due to my Prarabdha karma, I have this psychology of being joyful.
No. Good try. You have the psychology of being an enjoyer because you're a nonsense. You rejected Krishna. Krishna Bhagirmukhai Bhagavan Chakure. You have turned your face against Krishna. That's why you have this idea that you're an enjoyer. It has nothing to do with your Prarabdha karma.
What is that? What's the emotional reaction?
I was hoping nobody was going to ask me. These are Latin words, and I have to say it's like your word. One of them means previous, and one of them means post, but I don't know which is which. I think a priori means previous, and a posteriori means post. Ex post.
You relate to these four stages of reaction?
Yeah. There are some of these reactions happen before the reaction comes, and some of these happen after the reaction comes. Like for instance, Bij and Kutastha are the stages before the reaction comes. And Phalanmukha and Prarabdha come after the reaction comes. So therefore they're a priori and a posteriori. I'm pretty sure somebody has a dictionary can help me out here, but a priori means the previous, the before, and a posteriori means the after. I'm terrible at this Latin business. Hated Latin.
Is there a difference in reaction to a simple activity which is committed either after previous material desires or like Prarabdha, something Prarabdha, let's say, or just a direct desire?
What?
Is there a distinction? When you speak about Prarabdha karma, someone may have a particular psychology which makes him act in a particular way which may be simple. Is there a difference?
No.
Or is that wrong with this?
What are you trying to justify here?
I'm trying to understand the difference between, if there's a difference in an activity which is made directly after the design, directly I want to be on this, or if it is induced by the previous.
No, then we talk about the modes of material nature. Everybody is forced to act helplessly according to the modes of material nature. Nobody can act otherwise. They're all forced to act by the modes of material nature. So you don't bring Prarabdha karma into that. Prarabdha karma really means you have bad eyes, bad stomach, body fat, body skinny, certain beauty, certain birth, certain situation. The consciousness that is developed can be partly due to that particular situation, and partly according to what you are doing in your present existence, the way you act, your particular desires, brings in the other aspects too. So don't just blame Prarabdha karma, but the whole thing can be blamed on the modes of material nature, yes. But it's not the fault of the modes of material nature. You are surrendering to the laws of material nature in a certain way, and therefore they are taking you. But you don't have to do that. You can say, no, I won't do that. I didn't say it wasn't so serious. I said that it gets burned up. It may be serious, and it may cause the devotee all kinds of trouble. But he may get through it. He will get through it if he's serious and sincere. I never said it wasn't serious. Just much better from the beginning.
As much as you surrender, as much as you go. I'm wondering, it seems like
I didn't say as, maybe it's just your bad English, as much Krishna, as you surrender, as much Krishna rewards. Krishna said I reward them accordingly. Now Krishna usually rewards you with more than your surrender. It's not a equivalency there. You give Krishna 2 apples, he gives you 2 apples.
my question is, it seems like Lord Chaitanya makes an exception for the 2, because he gives even unqualified people, he gives very high,
Namo Mahavadanaya Krishna Pradayate, therefore, yeah.
So Lord Chaitanya doesn't take into consideration this whole, like according to your standards, that gives you anyway. Even if you don't want to give.
Even if you don't want, he makes you want. That's his mercy. He makes you want the mercy, and then gives it.
Another question I was wondering about one famous philosopher from Gard, this Nayama there is this second line, this Nava, you cannot understand Krishna by much hearing. And I was wondering to what kind of hearing does it refer, because, for example, I understand that hearing from the spiritual mind is a means to understand Krishna. So to what kind of hearing does it refer?
Yeah, but it's not just by hearing that you'll understand Krishna. The point is that you'll only get the darshan of Krishna when he himself wishes to give himself to you. So even by hearing a lot, that's not sufficient.
Doesn't Krishna become satisfied, for example, with the disciple attentively hears the spiritual master and it makes some details?
It depends on what your spiritual master is teaching you. Since this is a verse from the Upanishads, most likely it was referring to that which is being taught according to the Vedic injunctions, which is Jnana Karma, Karma Kanda, and Upasana Karma. So not necessarily the bhakti portion is there. You're thinking of pure bhakti, where a pure Vaishnava, spiritual master, is teaching a Vaishnava disciple. But that's not what the verse necessarily refers to. But even then, even if you are hearing from a spiritual master, much hearing is not going to necessarily get you to Krishna. He has to want to show himself to you. Then he will show himself to you. So it still is there. But he will like to, because it's like it is said, Srimatam Swakata Krishna, Surat Satam, Vidyanoti Surat Satam. He becomes the well-wishing friend within the heart when the devotee is hearing his messages. So he becomes your well-wishing friend. But you're still not going to get his darshan just because he's become your well-wishing friend. You still have to wait. Go further. Become qualified so that Krishna wants to give you himself. Yes? Destroys everything. Better than the atom bomb. No, not just the grace of the spiritual master, by every day going on with devotion, service to the spiritual master and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then gradually, Tadarajas Tamo Bhava Kama etc., you gradually come up to the point of Shuddha Sattva, and then you get that hard knot removed. Vijayante Vidyagantis cut. Chijante. Yes? If you're doing work here, around the temple, or under some instruction of some Krishna conscious authority, and that, yes, it's all devotional service. Yes, even if your mind is not necessarily fixed, of course it's not as powerful. If you do the same service with the mind fixed on Krishna, it becomes even more powerful. But it's still devotional service, it still helps, and it will bring you to the point where your mind can be fixed. So keep on going. Huh? Yeah, if you speak nasty things against a Vaishnava, you get a karma. Get heavy vaparad, heavy reactions, hati mata, smash the creeper of devotion. It's a heavy karma. It's especially heavy karma. It's a reaction, yes. It's not just karma, it's worse. You can also get karma for speaking an offense against others, or lying brings karma. Cheating with words brings karma. Duping somebody into doing something bad brings karma. Also done with words.
We were reading about Gita in the 5th chapter about Krishna saying that we should look for search for happiness within oneself. How to understand this information sanctified, for example, or service? Because as far as I understand, Krishna can always depend on his outside concept of your natures and looks and devotees.
Krishna is saying that that's a very advanced stage. But when one is busy working for Krishna, one gradually purifies himself to such a degree that he attains the peace within. He's so happy serving Krishna that within he becomes completely peaceful. And that peace comes from reaching the super soul within him. So within he's illuminated by Krishna. Within he's peaceful, within he has found his place, he's satisfied. It all takes place within. It doesn't mean you stop activities outside. Krishna didn't say that. He said, but while performing activities outside, you find your peace within. You can't find your peace outside. Everything can be completely peaceful outside, and your mind can be raging on all kinds of nonsense. So the peace has to be found within by the activity of devotional service. So you keep using all those things outside to help you become peaceful inside. Okay?
Krishna was explaining how Arjuna and Uttara, they were engaged in conspiracy. Krishna
was what? That by bad association you can develop a... But by bad association you can develop bad ideas and get the wrong idea. It's as you associate, so you develop that particular kind of mentality. So even though he was a pure devotee, still he had some contamination, and that contamination was just enough to cause that particular action to take place.
When one hears about transcendental knowledge and about its power to turn to actual source of reactions, I was thinking that, like, there is a desire to get this transcendental knowledge in order to restore the simple reaction one has because it's an object of situation. And I also thought, isn't it in some way kind of this seventh attempt, like when one wants to purification of the process, of the emotional process from chanting or something like that? Is it not the same? Like I want to get purified by getting transcendental knowledge.
So that's good.
And the seventh attempt is that one can listen for people who wants to get purification. Somehow the same.
Getting transcendental knowledge is not a sinful activity. How can it be the same? It's completely, totally unanalogous. But you don't get transcendental knowledge just by reading many books. Just by reading books, you may get some knowledge, but not transcendental knowledge necessarily. You have to be going on serving Krishna all the time, doing practical devotional service, chanting your rounds, engaging in deity worship, eating prasadam, coming to programs, following principles, and then reading every day. Not that we just stop everything and just start reading all the time now, we're just going to read. No. We do every day service, and every day some reading, every day some service, every day some reading, and gradually we get to know quite a lot. Okay. Hi, Bob. Thank you.
Harikesa Swami.